Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Benelux Tech Officers. My name is Sohan Maheshwar. I'm a developer advocate with AWS. Today is a very special episode. We have folks from the community here in the Netherlands who will be here to answer all your tech questions and talk a little bit about Community Day that's happening next week. So Walter Serkan, welcome to our show. Walter, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi, thank you for having us. My name is Walter Heck. My day job is CTO for the Netherlands at HeliCloud, AWS premier consulting company. But here today, I'm here as a co-organizer of the Community Days Benelux, and there's not really any hierarchy, so I'm helping out with whatever I can help out with at the community.
Nice. Welcome to the show, Walter. Very happy to have you here. And Serkan, again, welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone a bit about yourself?
Well, thanks, Soa, having us again. My name is Sarkan. I'm working as solutions architect at Cloud2 Techno Solutions. Again, besides from title, I help our clients to mostly move to AWS if they're already in AWS, from AWS to AWS, mostly doing Docker, EKS, Kubernetes stuff. Day and night, maybe different than Walter. Again, well, thanks for organizing this call.
Yeah, so folks, if you haven't joined us before, if this is new to you, the format is fairly simple. You can ask us any questions about AWS technology, about opinions, about the shirt choices that all of us choose. Mine apparently is not showing up very well on camera right now, but feel free to ask us any questions and we'll try and answer as many as possible. So again, Walter and Serkan are very active in the community here, in the AWS community here. They're organizing Community Day next week. They're part of the organizing team of Community Day next week. You can go to awscommunityday.nl. Bunch of great speakers, including Corey Quinn, who is one of the people giving the keynote, and Dr. Ferner Vogels, the CTO of AWS as well. So while we wait for people to send questions, Walter, can you tell us a bit about what you do at work and all the AWS tech that you actually work with?
At HeliCloud we are about 110 people, and in the Netherlands we are about 15. And I head up the technology, technical delivery here in the Netherlands. And so day to day, I'm communicating a lot with the rest of the company, working on new propositions, on things that we want to offer on top of AWS, as well as working with the engineers that are in the field. Well, now not in the field, but at home in the field. Working with them to make sure that they have what they need to deliver successfully.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And Serkan, you're a Docker expert. You work with a lot of containers. Are there any tips/stories that you have to share with having worked with customers who are implementing containers, Docker, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, quite some. Similar with Walter, I'm working with lots of different type of clients at different sizes and complete different environments. And yeah, as I mentioned before to you, we are most of the time 99% moving stuff to containerized environments because of its advantage, actually. Not only to the developers, but also to actually the business itself. It gives us quite some flexibility, speed, and cost efficiency. I can count a lot, but not only the reasons we can count like 1, 2, 3, but depending on what you need as a business owner. Docker can really, not Docker actually, but microservice environment can really help you to go play with whatever you need. Either it's cost, either it is like speed, either high security environment. So that's why actually most of the time we use Docker. I can share a couple of stories, but let's move it for later on. But yeah, I really like actually doing stuff around the Docker world.
Mm-hmm. Actually, Serkan is selling himself short a little bit. I don't know anyone who's been using AWS longer than Serkan in the Netherlands, at least. I think you started in 2008, 2009, somewhere around there?
Well, actually, I had a chance to count it a couple of weeks ago. The first time when I touched AWS was like, I think 10 years ago. And back in the time, we had S3 and EC2. And, and for me, back in the time, it was okay, yet another nice, very nice data center, which I can access through web interface. I can create my servers and everything. And the first time when I actually noticed that I can create a server with an API call, I said, "Wow, something is happening here," and it was really a special moment for me to understand where it can go. And yeah, of course, I'm not saying I really guessed what's going to happen with this AWS. I'm sure even the CTO didn't dream that much back in the time. Uh,
Yeah.
but it was really an interesting moment. So again, it started with EC2 and S3. Another interesting story, I started using AWS when I was in Turkey. Now I live in Netherlands for 8 years. It also tells something about for how long I'm using it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I really
Serkan,
like
yeah.
that AWS, one of their mottos is it's still day one. And that really gives a nice perspective on things if you zoom out for the next century and not what we're doing this week or this month or this year is really interesting. And now we have, I don't know, Kubernetes, that's the hottest thing on the planet. But if you zoom out and you look at a century, then really this is just the beginning. And that's a really cool perspective. Very much like.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so Serkan, you are the OG crowd of people who have been using AWS, there's a lot of debate about which was the first actual AWS service. I think officially it was SQS, simple queuing service. And then S3 came out, but people still debate it, and it's a hot topic.
I actually looked it up by coincidence last weekend.
Okay.
I'm writing a little piece on open source and public cloud. And I wanted to recap the history, because I very much remember the first time I heard about virtualization, just virtual machines. I was like, no, why would you want that?
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, I was like, actually, that's really cool. And then that happened in what was it, 2001, I believe. And then also actually VMware came out in 2001 with their first products, and then in 2003 the first AWS services came to life. But it wasn't until it was relaunched in 2006 that it became an actual thing. And, yeah, that's. I also remember the first times that I heard about AWS. I was like, okay, this is cool, but why would you put your enterprise organization's stuff on this? And then barely a decade later, and you're asking yourself, why would you not put your enterprise stuff on this?
Yeah, well said.
It's one thing that I really like about being a little bit longer in IT, that you start to see these trends, and it's fun.
A question to Walter. Although we are accepting questions, maybe we should remind the community. We are really expecting more questions. Question to Walter. Walter is one of the organizers, AWS Community Days, including some other events. But I'm curious, actually, Walter, why do you think that organizing such an event, joining, participating, or speaking, or organizing, why it's special for you?
So throughout my career, I started first with Delphi programming, which was inherently closed source. Actually, it's source available type of work. So you have some kind of way to look at the source code, but the rest of it was all closed source. And then in 2008, when I started All in Data, that was the first time I came across open source. And very soon I realized that there are all these conferences that are dying for speakers to have technical sessions and to share knowledge. And you really don't need to be a rocket scientist or like the most senior person on the planet. If you're a beginner and you figured something out and you know how it works and you've just figured it out 2-3 months ago, you can then have a session of 20 minutes where you talk about what you just did, and it will benefit people. And you don't need to be the most senior person on the planet to make people benefit from things. And I started doing that initially as a sort of like a marketing thing for the company that I was running. I was by myself by then and just freelancing and just trying to make a name. And then I realized that people are coming to me saying, "Hey, I really learned something today." And I'm like, "What do you mean you learned something?" That was like the most basic stuff for me on the planet. And not because I'm being cocky, but simply because I didn't think that I was saying something very advanced. But you have to realize there's always people who are ahead of you in the journey, and then there's also people that are behind you in the journey, and that's okay. There is no good or bad place, and sharing and making people learn something is something that I value a lot. And if I look at the really good things that happened since I started speaking and organizing in open source, a lot of that came from the fact that I got to know a lot of people in person that seem really scary when you are sitting at home behind your computer and like, oh my God, I don't know, the founder of MySQL, you know, these guys did all of this stuff. And then you meet him in person and he's just handing out shots under the table in a restaurant because he brings his own booze to a restaurant. Like, it's a lot of fun. You know, it puts a very human aspect in something that's very machine oriented, and for me that human aspect is really
and together with sharing, actually what I also feel that, you know, organizing something is, even talking or organizing is quite some work, and you are giving actually a lot from your time and energy, but in exchange actually what you get is really high value. What I mean is, when I talk with someone just sitting on the couch, like between the sessions, and talking, "Hey, what are you doing?" and hearing about a startup they are using, let's talk about AWS, they are using Lambda in a way that I could never think of, or using I don't know, auto scaling group in a way that I could never think of. It really gives me a lot of perspective, and this perspective is not something, to be honest, at the AWS documentation or any documentation. That's about creativity, and especially these talks with people on the sessions. Unfortunately, it's not happening. This couch talks, like when you're in the coffee machine kind of talks. Unfortunately, they are not happening. But when I hear from real users, business owners or technical people, how they use this technology, it really pays a lot. And I learn a lot actually from these people on these events.
I'm really sad that this year reInvent is not happening in the traditional sense, because it's one of those conferences where you go to, and because it's so crazy busy and all the sessions are fully booked before you get a chance to look at it. In the first year that I went, I've been like 4 times now, I think. The first year I went, I was really frustrated. Why can I not get into this serverless session, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up going to some relatively random sessions. And actually then I realized that those were the sessions that really inspired me walking away from it. I sat in a session on, Amazon Mechanical Turk. I have not ever used it. I don't think I will ever use it. But just sitting in that session and learning about this service that I didn't even know existed was really quite inspiring, and put a lot of thoughts into my head of like, oh, hey, that's an interesting way to solve different problems.
For sure. reInvent this time is virtual, for those of you all who might not know. It's 3 weeks long, so it starts I think on the 30th of November. The registration's free, so just look up reInvent and go sign up. The agenda was out a couple of days ago, so you can actually see when the different keynotes are, etc. So Walter, you were just talking a little bit about how you put yourself there, and you started bringing the community together. Good segue into Community Day in Netherlands, which is happening next week. Do you want to talk a bit about the conference? It's in its second year, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll just
so it's on Tuesday next week, and we're starting at 12:30 in the afternoon with a keynote from Corey Quinn. Many of you will know him from both his Twitter account, where he's always being very critical in a very funny way, but also very seriously critical. Like you would want this person on your marketing team, because the things he points out are very true and very embarrassing and very funny. So I really enjoy following him there. He works for the Duckbill Group, which I find the name hilarious. Is a cost optimization company, and so he'll be talking a little bit to open the day. Then we'll have some welcome keynotes by Kamini, who runs heads up the partner organization in the Netherlands. We'll have 2 keynotes, quite interesting actually, from the senior leaders in the community in the Netherlands. We have the CTO of PostNL, Joost van der Vlies, is coming to talk about how they're doing software-defined logistics, which I find a very nice term. And then secondly, we have Roland Keizer from Binder, who's coming to, he's one of the co-founders of Binder, and he's coming to talk a little bit about how they grew from really a startup to quite an enterprise size AWS user. Then after that, it's super awesome. We managed to convince Werner Vogels to come and have a keynote, and or fireside chat actually with Martijn, who will be on here in a minute. So I presume he will talk about it as well. But Werner Vogels has never done community day events before, so he's making an exception because he's Dutch, and yeah, I'm really excited to see that. And then we have 4 tracks. For Breakout Tracks, there's an office hours event that runs all day, where you can ask questions specifically. In the tracks, one of the sessions is by Sarkan. I'm personally leading the DevOps security and architects track, and we have 4 speakers in that. 5 speakers in that track. I won't go through all the sessions in detail, but fun sessions. You can look up the agenda on awscommunityday.nl/agenda. And then
I just put the link in the chat. As Kurosaki in the chat says, yes, Dr. Vogels is appearing on Community Day. He is Dutch, so we thought it would be appropriate to have him on Community Day here.
That's super cool. I really like him for the in-depth conversations that he can have, but then I also like him for showing up with an Oslo Posse t-shirt on the event stage.
Yes.
Most of you won't know this, but Oslo Posse is actually a 90s gangster rap in Dutch language. So it's very, how to say that, explicit gangster rap on the back of the old school rap in the US, and I thought it was amazing that the CTO of one of the largest companies on the planet, especially one of the most forefront public cloud companies, comes on stage with an Oslo Posse t-shirt.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then after the tracks, we come back together in a single session, and we have some really nice closing keynotes. We have a quick chat on diversity and inclusion with Kamini and Simone. Kamini again heads up the partner organization, and Simone is from Team Rockstars IT. Then we have a closing keynote by the CTO of Aegon, Anke Schlichting. She will be talking a little bit about the customer journey of Aegon. And then after that, we have a round table with 4 really amazing women from very different angles of the AWS community, and it's also led by Zamira, who's an AWS hero, and I think just became one of the lead APN ambassadors, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, unfortunately she couldn't be here today because she was unwell. She was scheduled to be here, but yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Also, speaking of Dr. Vogels, I don't know if you folks have watched it, but a new show that he's part of called Now Go Build. He essentially traveled to different parts of the world. I think great job actually getting to do that, including Tokyo, Jakarta, Bangalore, I think placed in South America, Amsterdam as well, and he sort of looked at local startups that were solving problems there. So check it out. It's on Prime. It's on YouTube. I'm just putting the link in the chat. Very cool show. You also get to see some Dr. Fergus doing some travel blogging, if you will. Serkan, you're speaking at Community Day. Can you tell us a bit about your talk? What will you be speaking about?
Yeah, sure. One side note, when I first sent my proposal for this event, I just sent my proposal because some people I know were organizing it, and when I received that it has been accepted, I looked at the website and I saw the Dr. Vocals and all others. I said, what? I thought it's just a meetup. So I really appreciate guys and girls, folks, organize this event, and it's really it looks very professional, and it will be, and I really appreciate their effort. So I'll be talking about I don't remember title well, but making EKS production ready. What I would like to share is actually my couple of years experience on moving clients to EKS. What I will share is actually, I always tell my clients that whatever I'm doing, you can do it by yourself, but you have to make a lot of mistakes. You have to spend a lot of time, and you have to do it differently multiple times. For example, for a small client, you're going to do it in a way. For another type of client, you're going to do it another way. For another type of organization, you will configure it in a different way. So you have to do all of them, and then you can do whatever I'm doing right now. So I will try to share actually what you will need to use EKS at production environment. Configuring any AWS resource, actually quite simple thanks to AWS documentation and YouTube videos and everything. You have different ways. You can do it with API calls through console, through CloudFormation. There are different ways, and I'm sure you can do it by yourself. But when it comes to especially making Kubernetes environment ready, there are lots of sidecars. There are lots of different type of networking configurations, exposing your services, keeping your persistent data, small things you cannot think of at the first step. I would like to sort of create a checklist for anyone who wants to go to production with EKS and share my experiences without going too much details, but mostly sharing some links and put some consideration points, and try to sort of create a checklist if someone wants to go to production. Some of them technical, some of them about the process. Yeah, that's what it will be about.
Yeah, cool. We have so we have a number of quite nice sessions in the security and architects and DevOps group. Some about culture. We have Serkan talking about EKS. Then we have a session on CloudFormation CDK, another session on CDK in complex environments by our friends at Conclusion, and then KMS and CMK, the key stuff by Stuart Scott from the Cloud Academy. And so there'll be not super long sessions, but especially in this online remote only situation, it's much better to do a shorter focused talk than it is to do a longer talk, because people's attention is just different.
I agree. Also, if you would like to share your experience but not use it as a sort of training session, this event is not like training, but more about actually sharing your experience, sharing how it should be done. It's even a technical topic, or let's say a migration project. It's really has to be at the high level. That's what we will try to do. And if you pick up some topics, and if you would like to go into details, you'll be able to have some. Find your links, or we will also share. All the other speakers will share as well, so you can go into details by yourself. But I really find that I'm really actually looking forward to also listen other sessions besides from talking, because all of these sessions are based on hands-on experience. That's really powerful. That I'm really looking forward for it.
We
Yeah,
got a
so
couple of questions coming in actually. So Kurosaki says, yeah, recently saw the episode where you went to India. Seems like he has a great time. Well, Kurosaki, funny story. He went to Bangalore, which is where I'm originally from, and the company that he spoke with, Zwende, were actually founded by people I worked with when I used to work for this company called InMobi. So small world. Also, we have a question about CDK. So Walter Sakan, one of y'all can maybe take this, but did you guys try CDK 8S, which is CDK for Kubernetes? Could you share your first experience, or no, why haven't you tried it yet?
Maybe I can go first. I
well,
didn't try.
my answer is really is really simple. No, I haven't used it because I don't do
Okay.
that much technical work anymore.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, Sakan, all you then.
Yeah, well, I tried actually CDK EKS and CDK itself. I find this tool very powerful, but I'm more currently at my current setup using CloudFormation, but native CloudFormation because of some different reasons. But I really find it powerful to be able to have modules we can actually also put our experiences inside the code. But currently, I'm not using CDK, EKS with the CDK, but with a native CloudFormation.
So I have a really unpopular opinion about CDK, but I think that CDK is really interesting and you can do technologically really advanced things. I used to be active a lot in the Puppet versus Chef community, so I did a lot of Puppet work and also a lot of comparisons with Chef. And this is the same iteration where you have CloudFormation and Terraform on one side, where you very much define your infrastructure and you have to be very specific. And then you have CDK where you get to do use programming languages, and that's really powerful if you're a good engineer. But at least in the consulting playing field where we're active, we deal with a lot of customers where there are not the most senior engineers on the planet. There are people who have some other job who also need to do this stuff on the side, and for them to wrap their minds around doing this stuff in code, I always say with great power comes great responsibility. With CDK, you can do amazing things, but you can also do really horrible things, and that potential for doing horrible things with CloudFormation or Terraform is a lot lower than it is with such a tool as CDK. So if you're working internally in a company and you have a good engineering team, then by all means make cool things happen with the CDK. But if you're working in a larger kind of enterprisey or bigger team, then probably be very careful with CDK, because once you program yourself into a corner, things get highly complicated.
Yeah, I have a similar opinion on this. We are almost out of time. That in our world, actually, after some time, Walter also has similar opinion that the technical part is sort of the easy part to solve. We are very good engineers. We have experience. If we cannot, we know where to find the answer. But we also need to think about long-term support. Who is going to support this product? This code actually itself. And I'm going to leave this environment. If you are a good consultant, you should always think that when you leave this environment, who is going to maintain this code? And if you are delivering something your client that only you can understand, it's a bit problematic. I mean, especially if you're a nice guy, you can just leave the environment as a consultant, and maybe you may expect them to call you back. Maybe it can be a good business opportunity for you. But we also think about how they are going to maintain it, whether they will be able to easily understand, and whether actually my always focus is let clients focus on their business, whether they will be able to focus on their business instead of dealing with complex code structure. Not saying shouldn't be using or you should be using, but these are the considerations you should keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Right tool for the right job applies everywhere.
Yep. Anyway, thanks guys. So question, yes, Kurosaki asks, is there a schedule for what time this talks are happening? Yes, Kurosaki, I've sent the agenda on the chat. Just go to awscommunityday.nl/agenda. It's happening on the 27th. And the agenda is finalized. It's in CEST. I almost forgot that daylight savings happens this Sunday, so also calibrate that way if you're in a country that doesn't follow daylight savings.
I mean, by Tuesday you should have probably caught on,
You
right?
should. Yes, hopefully. All right, so we're actually going to get 2 other people onto the stream, and then we will say goodbye to Walter and Serkan. So say hello to Martin and Jeroen. This is part of the organizing team of Community Day. So Walter, Serkan, thank you so much for being part of this. We will see you next week at Community Day while we talk to Martin and Jeroen. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Hello, folks. How are things? So,
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you
yes.
for having us.
We have Martijn van Dongen, who also is an AWS hero, who was actually, in the chats asking questions. All right. So first off, introductions. Martin, do you want to tell everyone who you are, what you do, and what you'll be doing at Community Day?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the global AWS tech lead at NordCloud, and also an APN ambassador. What I do at NordCloud, it's quite diverse, I would say. I do some pre-sales. I work on our internal offerings on top of AWS, of course, and I support our community of cloud architects across Europe. So, with all kind of technical training ideas they need and support, to do their job.
Cool. And Jeroen, welcome to the show. Do you
you.
want to tell everyone and introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, my name is Jeroen Jacobs, working as a cloud business consultant for Oblivion Cloud Control, a premier Amazon consulting partner. The main role I have is helping customers with basically the non-technical part of their AWS cloud journey. So doing roles like project management, CCOE implementations, cost management consultancy, but also a very, very active role on the commercial side of the company as team lead of our commercial team. So we're all basically doing hands-on or on the field work, I have to say, and commercial activities mixed. So and beside that, I am also one of the co-founders of the AWS User Group Netherlands. Active for 3+ years in organizing a lot of AWS related meetups, with is a lot of fun to do.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So first question, Martin, I do this stream almost every week, and there are a lot of our viewers who sort of want to do the certification test, and they're like, hey, give us tips. I'm doing my first exam. You actually have 12 certifications. You have passed all of them. It's not too many people in the world.
To do that. Someone managed to do that. Yeah, that's correct. It was quite funny because I was working with Jeroen as well, I think, for the past 6 years before I joined NordCloud. And I think there was a real active competition within the company who could get the most certifications as fast as possible. So that's basically the reasoning behind it. But I'm happy to share if anybody has any questions on this.
Please give us some tips, because honestly, that's a question that we get asked quite a bit. So, like, how do you study? Are there good materials online? What is your process?
I recently recertified my DevOps professional and the solution architect professional one. And from NordCloud perspective, we use Linux Academy quite a lot. So that was definitely a good source. Also in the past, I've used a Cloud Guru, which is a nice one. And also one to recommend is the courses of Adrian Cantrell. He's created 2 courses, one on the as a associate and as a pro. And both of those are really well put together.
And Martin, if I may, which one in your opinion is the hardest one to do? Which one is the hardest one to study for, maybe?
Definitely the machine learning one.
Okay.
Because my background is basically in infrastructure, DevOps, those kind of things. I went to re:Invent 2 years ago, and I thought, well, this is one of the exams I still need to do. And that was the BIDA exam at that time. So I just tried it. And my luck in that one was basically that there was a lot of questions around the higher level machine learning services, so comprehend and those kind of things. So I think based on that, I managed to pass it. But apart from that, don't ask me about SageMaker.
Very humble, I must say. So, Jeroen, you also have pro certifications, right? And you come from a traditionally non-tech background. So, can you tell us a bit about that? Like, I can see in the chats, Kurosaki actually says that they're giving their dev associate next Sunday. So, any services to focus on or any tips? So, yeah, if two of y'all can share anything on that. Jeroen, you want to go first?
Yeah. Nice question. As you said, I'm not a technical guy, not hands-on, not an engineer. But I have a AWS Architect Pro certification, and it basically started with a challenge with one of my colleagues, Sydney. That already started at a previous employer where we made a deal. Okay, let's pick a date and go for it for the first associate level at that time. And well, actually, we did the same trick again. I think a year ago. It was about a year ago at Oblivion Cloud Control. Sydney and I made the same deal. Okay, let's go for it. And I think so now I have the 3 associates, 1 pro, and the practitioner, and I still have the ambition for the security, but it's tough, I have to say, as a non-technical guy. But I think 2021 will be the year of security specialty for me. Some tips. I think the most important thing from my perspective is the willingness to achieve it. So you really have to be interested in AWS and have to be willing to spend a lot of effort, at least as a non-technical person, in learning the concepts, in doing some labs, and also doing exams, study exams. That helped me a lot, and until today, every exam I did, I passed it the first time. So hopefully,
Nice.
I can continue.
Yeah.
It's funny, actually,
Martin,
I see that Stein, a previous colleague of ours, is or actual colleague of Jeroen still, but is in the chat mentioning Cloud Guru in the car, and that's basically
Yeah.
one of the things that we both used to do because we live in the south of the Netherlands, and well, most of the projects were around the Amsterdam area, so with Dutch traffic, that's horrible. But it at least gave you a lot of time to listen to a Cloud Guru. But I had to rewind that quite a lot, since when you wander away in the car and listening to someone speaking very slowly, then it's not the best thing to do on your way back home, I would say. But, and with regards to the developer associate, I would say definitely take a look at all the code pipeline, code build, those kind of services, because there are a lot of questions around these in the exam.
So you mean like code deploy, code pipeline, code commit, code build? Okay. So Kurosaki, says it has just started their journey. But Kurosaki, here's the great thing: all of us at some point of time started that journey. But love the fact that you've committed to a date. You're giving your exam. You're out here studying. So good luck with that. Like Martin said, look for code deploy, code commit, code pipeline as some of the services that you may overlook perhaps. So yeah.
And Elastic Beanstalk still, which I find sometimes a bit special, because I haven't seen that much people using the service in production in the end, but there's also still a lot of questions around that one in there.
Cool. All right, so Martin, Jeroen, can you tell us a bit about each of you all? I think, if I'm not mistaken, are running tracks at Community Day. So maybe, do you want to talk about the type of content that we are putting out that day?
Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, both of us are hosting a track. I will host the various track, which is basically the track where all the other tracks or all the other talks that doesn't fit in one of the other 3 were combined. And I also call it the track with the most specific and most specialized topics. So we will kick off with a talk provided by me and my colleague around cloud cost management. So I'm also curious to what Corey Quinn will tell us. But we will have 5 perspectives on how to optimize your AWS cost spend, which is a very hot topic, I think, currently. Then we will continue with a guy that's actually not from the Netherlands and currently based in Australia at carsales.com. He does very cool stuff with machine learning and SageMaker, and shares some cases that he did earlier. And he also spoke at the AWS Community Day in Australia locally. Then we have someone a completely different topic from Bas from Skyworks. He will. He was a very technical guy in the past, and he's now more into managerial stuff. And will share his thoughts and struggles in that journey. And basically, it's I guess more advice for a career of people that are hesitating between in which direction to go. Then Schubert Philips will have a talk around one of their clients in the retail with a big web shop or online store to order your supermarket goods, and how it scaled out during the COVID in English hamstering I think things. And the last talk will be around voice, so Poly, Lex, and Alexa solutions around voice. So it's pretty mixed, but real nice topics, I think.
Nice. So Kurosaki has another question, which is, both of you have said you're involved in the commercial side of the business. Has it been affected by COVID? What changes you've seen? Martin, do you want to go?
Yeah, of course it has a bit, but there are also raises a lot of opportunities, because when you migrate to AWS, it's also an opportunity to optimize and save cost on your operational expense. So for companies, that's still a reason to migrate and save those costs, especially in this COVID situation.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely not declining. I think it's activating a lot of companies to deal with their technical debt and now invest in new technology to become more flexible, to also to transform towards new business models, new engagement models with their customers. So that's something we definitely see. It's very busy currently. On the other hand, we can't ignore that economically this impacts some industries, and we also have some clients in very heavy affected industries. So there we see struggles, but there we can still help with cost optimization, for example, or also even with transforming to more scalable architecture to assure that their at least their Amazon spend is in line with their revenue.
Yep. Okay. Folks, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask Martin and Jeroen. Anything to do with AWS services or cost optimization, hit us up in chat and we'll be happy to try and answer them. Martin, I actually have a question, and since you've been in the space for a while, you're an expert in using in some of the DevOps stuff that I'm not very good at. In a company of like say 100 cloud engineers, how do you sort of handle like access control? Like, are there any processes behind that, and any tips, for like maybe like a consulting company to do it? Just share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, of course, there are a lot of strategies you could take there. I would say you would definitely need to set up something like a single sign-on, for example, using AWS SSO or a third-party product like Okta or Ping Identity. And from there, integrate it with the AWS IAM service. Define a standard set of roles for each of the groups of people in your organization, and link those to the single sign-on setup.
Okay. And anything else that you've seen worked in larger companies, perhaps, where you have like say 500, 1,000 engineers working on infrastructure?
Yeah, definitely. So what you should do is standardize as much as possible. Standardize. Um, this to make it really easy and quickly to deploy new accounts. So when you look at it, AWS account is basically a boundary for a team to work in. And if you use that boundary to delegate accounts to specific teams, it makes it really easy to make sure that the teams are not interfering with each other's workloads or deleting stuff that's not theirs, and also helps with setting up your IAM roles and make it not too complex.
Cool. Yeah, those are good tips. Anyway, folks, another reminder, we are here for about 15 more minutes. So if you have any questions about AWS services, if you want opinions about how to pass the certifications, this is your time to actually ask them, and we'll try and answer them as much. All right, so Jeroen, I have a question for you. What are some of your most favorite AWS services or initiatives that you worked on?
So my most favorite AWS related projects, I think in 3 areas. First of all, I most like the projects that are the most visible to the business, the most contributing to the business of clients. So we did quite some projects in the IoT area. And those are really making a difference for organizations in basically their competitiveness. And I think that's where one of the main reasons why you should go to a platform of AWS. So for example, we did stuff with RFID, track and tracing with AWS IoT in the back to locate liquids in laboratoria, or we did a project with solar panels and metering on the panel itself with IoT, LoRa connectivity, and at the end, a QuickSight, which was visualizing stuff in AWS. So that's I think one part. The more the other part of the spectrum is I think the cost management scans, because you always bring good news. Not for everyone, because you also say basically said that someone was sleeping during the last months, but there was always I said there's always a business case for a cost optimization project. And the third one is large complex journeys, like starting with the strategy business case, CCOE, up to the landing zone design and build, and then mass migrations and even refactoring at the end. I like to see how companies are walking through that journey and learn from it and evaluating. Basically, that's something I really like. Yeah.
Okay, and Martin, what about you? And while you answer that, let me just fix my lighting. But yes, Martin, go ahead.
So favorite projects, yeah, I think what I like the most is to have a diverse role, so touch upon all the different services for a bit, make it really broad. So things like IoT, as Jeroen mentioned, is really cool to work on, but also stuff like networking. I really appreciate or enjoy a lot. Yeah, there's so much stuff that's really interesting. Containers, for example, recently did some experimentation with Copilot, for example, which is like another new thing which makes deploying stuff so much easier. Yeah, so it's, for me, it's more like experimenting with everything as much as possible and see where you can benefit the most of. Another thing that I find really interesting is, for example, if you talk about cost savings, these new ARM Graviton-based instances, for example.
Yeah.
Really interesting. If you see those blog posts with up to 50% price reduction and 40% improvement in performance, yeah, that's insane, actually. If you can get to those levels, it's kind of a no-brainer if you have a MySQL or Postgres RDS instance running and can switch it to an Graviton-based instance. That's yeah, it's a no-brainer basically.
Yeah, we have a question from Sahil. that I'm putting up. Any equivalent service in AWS compared to Azure Sphere? Would you guys happen to know? I'm not sure what Azure Sphere does, but
You mean the other cloud?
yeah, the other cloud that I haven't heard of. Okay. So, it's a IoT security solution, including hardware, OS, and cloud components to protect your devices. Okay, got it.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
do you guys know the answer? Yeah.
yeah, AWS have something similar, which is called IoT Device Defender. Is that correct? Yeah, I think so. Device Defender, I believe it's called. Device Defender. It's a similar service which basically helps you to secure your IoT devices.
Have you used it before, Martin? Is there something you can speak about it? You know how it works, etc.
No, I haven't actually, but I just knew that this service was available. But it sounds like something similar as Azure Sphere.
Okay. So, Sahil, yes, do check it out. Hopefully, that will be, based on your use case, perhaps it will be something you can check out. Oh, okay. Martijn, who is a part of the community here as well, has actually said that Martin wrote a nice blog post about Copilot, worth mentioning here. Yes, Martin, you don't tell us about these cool things that you do. Yeah, so do check out his blog, martinbrutnik.nl. There's a post about deploying containers with AWS Copilot, which you should check out.
Yeah, actually, thanks to the guys in the Containers on the Couch show, because I watched that and I thought, well, that's really nice to try out this tool. So based on that, I wrote that blog. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So, folks, we have about 8 more minutes. So if you have any other questions, just keep them coming. We'll try and get to as many as possible. So one question that I definitely want to ask both of y'all, because y'all have been working with the cloud for so long, and you obviously have familiarity with it. Where do you really see the future? What do you think is the next, like popular thing? Like everyone right now is talking about serverless, for example. What will everyone be talking about, like say 3 years down the line?
Wow, that's a good question. I think you should ask that to Werner Vogels on the event.
But in your opinion, right? Like you've obviously seen how things have evolved in tech and in the cloud. Where do you see it moving maybe 2-3 years down the line? And this is, of course, your personal opinion.
I think a lot of more of those high-level machine learning services will be made available. So just an API call to call a model and get your answer on a specific thing. I think those will involve let's say mature and improve a lot over the coming years. And also still more and more managed services. So things like RDS, where you basically can operate hands-off and the service is just doing the work for you, and you don't have to worry about it.
Right. The first point that you mentioned, I think I 100% agree with you. If you look at like the sort of history in the last 20-30 years, right? Like maybe 30 years ago, there were companies who'd actually say things like we are a database first company, because databases barely existed, or they exist in a very different form. And an app or an enterprise app that could use like a good database is to advertise it like, hey, we are a database first company. And then that became sometime later like, hey, we are a cloud first company. And that 10 years back, it was, hey, we're a mobile first company. At this point of time, we assume that every product out there has a database, has some part in the cloud, has a mobile component as well. So I think with AI services and machine learning services, that's how it's going to be maybe 5 years down the line, where it's assumed that your app or something that you build will have some component of machine learning or artificial intelligence built in, because things will be abstracted so much and it'll just be simple API calls. So at least that's what I think personally. Jeroen, you have also been in the industry for a while. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I agree with Maarten that machine learning AI is definitely something, well, it was pretty dominant last year at reInvent. But I think also a very interesting announcement at reInvent the year before was very new stuff like the ground station, which was for me it's still kind of a service where I'm very curious about how we will use it in the future, or is Amazon even going to launch satellites and bring offering services via that. So I'm very looking forward to the innovation of the platform, and I think what is shown in the past, that the majority of the services are very are fast adopted for things that you can imagine today, but will use tomorrow.
Yeah.
Another trend I think we saw from especially last year reInvent was from regions towards the edge locations towards wavelength, so even more close up to on-premise. So low latency, high performance. I think that are
for sure.
with extreme power. That I think that are the directions to where it will continue in.
I also see that a lot. Like the AWS Outpost offering is something we get a lot of questions on lately, especially from manufacturing and industrial companies. Just want to have something on their factory locations, for example.
Yeah, Martin, there's a question specifically for you. Before that, Sahil says, after serverless, I think next would be codeless-based programming. No need to write a single line of code. Well, Sahil, I sort of agree that I think they're two different things, what serverless is and what codeless programming is. In fact, check out AWS Honeycode. It's a new service we launched earlier this year, which is, for no-code programming. So you can make apps out of, like, say, a spreadsheet, for instance. A very interesting way of thinking about building. But Martin, specific question for you. Are there any caveats to keep in mind when switching from regular to ARM-based instances, or is it just a snapshot, shutdown, or start from snapshot?
Now you can actually use the RDS console to modify your instance, but there will be a small interruption, of course. But you can do it pretty easily, and of course test it beforehand as well. There's a nice blog post available on it. I see you already linked it. Definitely recommend it to read that one, and just follow the process.
Yeah, I would also say do check it out, salty_sid, and for the others as well. I've been seeing a lot of tweets and case studies about companies and who have shifted to these ARM-based instances, seen like cost reduce. Very, very interesting. So do check it out. Maybe if this fits what your workload looks like, then you definitely should consider it. Okay, so Muksepa says, hey guys, forgot about today's discussion. Well, thanks for joining in again, one of our regular viewers. Also, we have another question from xjan_itility, which is, hi, I'm looking for a multi-cloud SIEM solution. Do you have experience with this? Is this something Guard Duty could do? This is up your alley, guys, so I'll let you all take this.
Yeah, well, the specific question is on a multi-cloud SIEM solution. Then no, Guard Duty is not the tool you want to use. Guard Duty is mainly focusing on the AWS space. And it's a detection service, so it will not be a SIEM. If you need a SIEM, then you're more looking towards products like Sumo Logic, for example, or Splunk, those kind of solutions, where you basically stream all your log files to, and based on that, can get some interesting insights.
Yep. Okay, so folks, we have just, I think, a couple more minutes, maybe time for a last question. So Valstar2 says, what are currently the best performing scripting languages for serverless Lambda scripts, or is that still up to the developer?
I think that's one for you, so.
Well, for serverless Lambda, I think largely the ones that are most popular are still Python and Node.js. With Lambda specifically, everything from Go and Java and C# are all supported. So if you're familiar with that, I'd say still go for it. But yeah, the ones that are most popular are Python and Node.js. Okay, xjan utility says, thanks, Splunk is something I could look into. Okay, folks, last thoughts. For those of y'all who just joined in, AWS Community Day Netherlands is happening on the 27th of October, which is next week. A lot of great speakers, including Dr. Ferner Vogels. I'm guessing this is the first time he's joining a community day, so definitely something to look forward to. Registration is free, and it's not like a super long 5-day event, so take the time out to check it out. Just go to awscommunityday.nl. The agenda is up online as well. Parting thoughts, Jeroen, Martin, any last words before we leave for the day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you don't have time, the 27th itself, don't forget to register, because if you have been registered, then you get the material and the videos afterwards available as well. And I think that's worth it anyhow.
Yep. And FYI, we will also be doing office hours in parallel throughout the thing. So if you watch like a talk and you're like, hey, I have some questions about that, you can always jump on to office hours. I'll be around for, I think, 2.5 hours, doing this, supporting the community. Martin, last words again.
Yeah, so that's a good point you mentioned, because also some of the speakers of the serverless track will be in the office hours as well. We have some really cool people there, like Jan Chui, which you probably know from his famous Burning Monk blog, and some other community heroes in the serverless track. So definitely come check that out.
Yes, so from Martin, from Jeroen and myself, do check out awscommunityday.nl happening next week. These Ask Me Anything sessions also always happen on twitch.tv/AWS. Anyway, thank you so much guys for joining in, and viewers, thank you so much for joining in. Stay safe, hope to see you next week at Community Day. Till then, have a good day and bye.
See you.